Hello and welcome to Creator Talk with Sam Johnson. We're talking about Geek-Girl #2 today, which is about to be released for New Comic Book Day Wednesday, tomorrow, which would be July 11th for those of you not watching it live. Sam, say hello to the audience.
Hello, audience.
Sam, I'm excited. I did get to read the second issue, and all I can say is wow. I'm not a spoiler guy, so I'm not going to go much into the book, but I told you this off of the live stream. I remember at one point going, "Wait a minute, am I reading the right book?" It was so awesome and so unexpected. So my hat off to you, sir. It definitely takes it into a whole new. It's like a game changer for the series, I think. What you did, and I'm really excited about that. And I love the villains that you're creating right now. Can you?
Yeah, and your dog's excited about them as well, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, can you go over this villain group that's coming out of nowhere?
So what's happened? And if you're not up to speed on Geek-Girl, you can still get a free digital comic that came out for Free Comic Book Day called Geek-Girl Whatever Happened to Ruby K. And that will bring you more or less up to speed. You can get that at geekgirlcomics.com. Anyway, the new villains in it have come about because Lightning Storm, the big bad who tried to take down Maine and destroy its points of authority, succeeded in trashing 2 police stations and hospitalizing Maine's big superheroes and heroines, including Ruby K, aka Geek-Girl. So the League of Larcenists are a bunch of guys. Well, they started as 4 guys, and they're looking to grow and become the Legion. And they're basically capitalizing on the hole that's left in law enforcement in Maine, in the absence of cops and of superheroes. And they've got high-tech gear, like sort of as Terry, a wannabe member of them, describes it, like sci-fi shit stuff. So they got like sort of, if you think sort of cable style big chunky blasters, and like they've got they can open portals. So their aim is to just pull bank jobs left, right, and center, and they've got the tech that in like a sort of deleted scene from issue 1 was basically, well, just a deleted panel rather, was where they're busting into a bank to do a bank job, and the tellers immediately slam the shutters down, and Pighead, who's the leader of the league, who's half man, half pig in the head department. He's got kind of like a pig's brain sewn together with his. So they tell us slam the shutters down, and Pighead's like, right, you need to open those or we're going to shoot all the people this side of those shutters. They open them, and then Pighead, in the bit that I cut out, was like, you just save yourself some shit there, because we have tech that could have just blown through those shutters anyway. So these guys have got they've got the guns, they've got the tech to do a job here.
Now, was this a group that you'd always wanted to deliver into the comic book, or is this something that came through the process of creating this book?
Totally through the process. I mean, when I originally was planning the second volume of Geek-Girl, where I intended to go is very, very different from where I have, and I like to keep it unpredictable. Like, you know, we didn't know after the first volume that basically Ruby's in a coma, and her best friend Summer, who was there for the climactic battle between Ruby and Lightning Storm, when where they kind of both ended up unconscious, Ruby and Lightning Storm, and Summer as a result has the super tech, the power inducing glasses that were Ruby's, and is kind of feeling like she kind of pushed Ruby into being a superhero in the first place. So she kind of feels a bit guilty of Ruby having been, you know, comarized. So she's stepped up and is trying to fill the shoes while Ruby's out of commission. So yeah, again, that wasn't something I originally had in mind. And also, where we're going, this is not like, as I always say in these interviews, this is not a legacy hero. We're not going to be seeing Summer as Geek-Girl for another 30 issues. I like to keep things unpredictable.
And that's so cool and so original. Like you're not worried about branding. You're not doing the Marvel or DC thing. Like you said, worried about a legacy. You're just writing a story and it's taking you where it takes you. And that's awesome to see coming out on the pages.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the central thing of Geek Girl is the BFFs, Ruby and Summer. And like when Ruby initially got her powers and was trying to show them off to a Too Cool for School kids clique, with the exception of Summer, they weren't impressed and she kind of alienated them. But now, so yeah, Summer's always been integral. She's the one that stuck by her. She came up with the idea of her being a superhero. Her dad's all into superheroes. She's got superhero posters on her walls. So yeah, that's always at the heart of it. But where things go from there, we're going. Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Well, as someone who's read a lot of what you've written, I just realized today that you're on another project that I want to talk about in a few minutes that I'm now excited to look forward to. But as someone who's read most of what you've written, I gotta say you have like this original feel. Like it doesn't feel like it's a comic book. It feels like it's a telling of someone's story because of that unpredictableness. What inspires you to do that? Is that like on purpose? Do you want to keep the reader off tilt, or is it just your particular style?
It is. I do want to keep it unpredictable, but not, just sort of for the sake of keeping it unpredictable. One thing I find a little bit frustrating about sort of your typical Hollywood movies is you generally sort of get a sense of, right, we're going to go here, then we're going to go here, and then we're going to go here, and you can sort of feel that as you watch it for the most part. So I like to, yeah, just there's curveballs in there, but it's not like it's not for the sake of that. There's an where we go with Summer temporarily taking over the Geek Girl thing, we get to see her in a new side of her and explore her character in a way that we couldn't have done when it was Ruby in the spotlight. And I think she's lovable as Geek Girl. She's trying her best, but she doesn't have the aptitude for it that Ruby does, and she's not doing. I mean, like when we open issue 1 of volume 2, she's spotted a mugger who's again part of this crime wave that's going on. She's flying down. She's trying to time it just right so she'll like knock him into the wall without like hurting him too badly, and she ends up knocking him through this hardware store window and causing all kinds of damage. And the shop guy is more concerned about what he's just been cost by this than the fact that the mugger's been stopped. And then she gets a call because Pitbull, the jock superhero, is mentoring her. And before she can even settle up or even attempt to settle up with this guy, she's wearing a headset that she's hooked up to talk to Pitbull with, and is called away immediately because there's another crime going on. So she's out of there, leaving a pissed off shopkeeper.
Now, has the response to this sudden change, how are the fans reacting to it so far?
It's been really good, and I think the thing about it is it's organic. This is, as I say, we're not doing a legacy hero thing. I haven't decided, right, at some point I'm just going to stop with Ruby and put another character in. It's their integral is their relationship is at the heart of the book, and I think any reservations about it, once you see Summer in action, as I say, she's absolutely lovable in the role, and also, but at the same time, so out of her depth, and like what we've got coming in issue 2, that's going to get taken up another level. But it's actually been the best reviewed thing I've ever done. It's gone down really well, and I think part of that is that it's I've created this world and we get to sort of explore that, and it really feels like it was commented on in the first miniseries that Ruby was sort of new to this world, but it had a pre-established world of Neon Girl being the big superhero and Pitbull being the big superhero, and it felt like this already kind of existed, and now we get to explore that more, and that the characterization is key beyond Ruby and Summer, like Ruby's clique that were so, distanced from her and raised eyebrow about her claims of being a superheroine. Now they see, oh, she's just saved the city, so they like to be part of what's popular. They're trying to ingratiate themselves back in with her while she's in a coma. So they're at her hospital side, apart from Karen, who's the arch bitch who doesn't deem Ruby worthy with her presence, seemingly. But then Mariella, who Ruby helped out in the first miniseries, who became a true friend, she's made to feel very unwelcome at Ruby's bedside by her supposed friends.
Oh man, that's a very complex story. And I got to give you credit. It feels very organic. It doesn't feel like anything is forced in this book. Can you just explain, like, did you have like a blueprint for this, or is there like a bigger story, or are you just kind of feeling it as it goes, one issue at a time?
I don't know, again, like I say about keeping it unpredictable for the reader, I like to keep it unpredictable for myself as well. Like the thing I originally plotted out for the second series, or the second arc, was very, very different from what it is now. But there is a direction that I have in mind. I mean, as I always reference, my intention is to try and get the audience big enough that we can justify the third series being an ongoing. And it kind of, if I want to do it quite the way I want to do it, it kind of necessitates being an ongoing, and that gets set up at the end of will get set up at the end of the second. But at the same time, we've got in the fourth issue, we've got what I hope is the most jaw-dropping moment we've had yet.
Oh wow, well, I look forward to that. Can you talk about the variant cover? I saw this and I was kind of excited by it. How'd that come about?
Well, so there's two variants. There's Manuel Bracchi, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Manuel, he came on board as the new limited variant cover artist with this miniseries. The first one he did is it's Ruby's phone on the floor after the fight with Lightning Storm. It's landed on a selfie of Ruby and Summer smiling, but then the screen's all cracked, so you can see the kind of what that's analogizing, if that's a word. And he did a great job on that. And on the new one, we've got Chromex, this new sort of pseudo street talking robot who Summer goes up against in issue 2, and that's featured on the variant as well as the limited variant. But yeah, he's done a great job on the limited variant. It looks really, really nice. So yeah, I'm glad to have him join the crew with that.
Now, I want to just take a minute and I want to introduce people, because I just found this out right before we went on to the air, about your other comics. It sounds exciting. What's going on with the Almighty Origins?
So the Almighty's Origins is a free digital comic that kind of sets up what's coming for the Almighties, and you can still get that at Drive-Through Comics, and it's at my blog as well if you Google Sam Johnson Comics. The Almighties is a team I created with Mike Gagnon. It's kind of it's a lot more comedic than Geek-Girl. There's a lot of parody elements in it. Like the issue 1 was kind of parodying the big Marvel events, and we did the logo deliberately sort of looking like the Avengers, and we did an homage to a cover of the new Avengers one we had, the way we had them posed, the characters. But it's another similarity with the Avengers is it's a composition of mine and Mike's characters coming together in a team. What differs from the Avengers is they're extremely dysfunctional, mismatch, to the degree where one of them you don't even know why is on the team. To break down the team members, you've got Maxitron, who's an Iron Man-esque character, an egomaniac but insecure with it. And then you've got Miss F, former downtrodden housewife turned swinging superheroine. Mason, who's a borderline psychops, former Black Ops guy. Nightfang, cocky British punk who turns into a werewolf. And then you've got Stefanos, who's just some guy who runs a takeout, and there's no apparent reason for him being on the team. But as well as he's much in demand, as well as being a part of the Almighties. Back in the day, he was a chief advisor to Barack Obama, so he seems trusted. Although he does just seem like them sort of grunting guy that would serve you a burger.
That looks really fun. When can we expect to see that? And when are you returning to the Kickstarter platform?
Well, the Almighties. So the best thing to do is get that free Almighties Origins at Drive Through Comics or at my blog. But there is, if you go on Facebook, Almighties Amass, there's a Facebook group, and issue 1 and 0 are still available, and we're working on Almighty's Afterbirth, tagging the DC Rebirth title, which is in the works. Thing with the Almighties, whereas like Geek-Girl and my creative team on Geek-Girl, we focus on it and get it done. But with the Almighties, everyone, there's a lot of people involved in it. Like we had 3 artists on issue 1, and I think even more on issue 0, and everyone's involved in other stuff. But it's getting gradually done. Eleanor Kortzars, who's been involved in all the Almighties books, is doing good work, and we've got most of the artwork done. So it'll be out, and I'm really pleased with what we've got with it. I mean, it's funny. It's the thing if you like Family Guy, that's the kind of humor we're going for on that.
Well, that seems really cool, and I love the fact that you've gotten such support for this, because I think it's a great project, and I think that every time we talk, I always tell you I think this has got legs to be a bigger property, and I really do hope that you find a home for it to actually become a monthly, because I'd love to see this story be told on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I mean, we enjoyed doing it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, the aim is, speaking of, as you mentioned, when am I going to be back on Kickstarter? The intention with the Almighties is once we've got the 3rd one done, because they're all one shots. So once we've got Afterbirth done, the intention is to do that as a trade, do the 3 as a trade, and that might involve Kickstarter. And that's the way I tend to do Kickstarter as yet, at least. So with Geek-Girl, we put out all the 4 issues, and then when it was time for the collection, I primarily use Kickstarter as pre-orders for that, and that's what I'm going to be doing with the 2nd volume as well.
Well, that's so cool. Did you ever think about doing glasses for Kickstarter? Having like glasses given away?
You know what? I haven't, and that is a good idea. And if I may steal that, Rob, I'm going to give that some thought.
Oh, absolutely. As far as the book goes, because I have actually gotten to read it, I'm going to give it the Anderson approved. I'm always excited to read the continuing issues of this. I wish I could say more, but I don't want, it was so good. I don't want to ruin it for anyone. I don't even want to tip my hand and maybe give something up that would give it away. Is there anything that you could give us as a teaser that would excite the audience?
Well, we'll get to see this summer way out of her depth against this quirky new character, Chromex. And we'll get to see, as it says on the cover, the League of Larcenists rising, and we get to see the dynamics of them, and that's quite a complicated dynamic they have there, because Pighead is all in, and he wants everyone all in, and we've got the guy we kind of focus on most out of the League of Larcenists is this guy Terry, who's got a wife and a very young, well, a baby basically, and he wants, he's kind of down on his luck, and he wants to get involved and clean up, but he's got to kind of phone it in to a degree, like he doesn't even live in Maine, and he wants to relocate, and this is all a bit of a bugbear for Pighead, who's quite an aggressive character, and he wants the smooth, and we're all in, and we're all committed to this, and Terry has too many questions about what might go wrong, and the the end result of this, when they're handing out code names in issue 2, is Terry gets saddled with the name Numbnuts as his code name, which obviously he's overjoyed about.
I can imagine. So now, Terry's an interesting character. Is there more behind him It feels like there could be a bigger story with him that we're going to see eventually. Am
Yeah,
I right about that?
yeah, that's right. Basically, we're going to see a relation. Chromex is going to get roped into the league, and Chromex is kind of an outsider, and Terry's kind of an outsider, and Chromex is not too keen on the way the pig has kind of aggression and things like naming members of the league derogatory names, such as the one Terry's been saddled with. So we're going to see a bond forming with those two. And people in this league haven't, as we've established with Terry, not everyone is on the same page, not everyone has the same agenda. And Chromex is going to be kind of a wild card thrown in there. So yeah, there's more to come with Terry and with Chromex. This issue too is where we introduce Chromex into the equation, and I think is a fun character, say with a quite a weird sort of quirky pseudo street way of talking that hopefully people are gonna enjoy. Because yes, I have more plans for them, and yeah, can't really say any more than that.
Yeah, and the one thing I like about the story is that despite Geek-Girl suddenly changing, it's not like she's fully accepted by people, and there's almost this feel of judgment, like you said back in issue 1, on how she's dealing with things. Is that going to be something that she's going to start to realize and have to deal with as a character, that she's not as beloved as Geek-Girl was becoming?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Summer is kind of feeling what Ruby felt when Ruby was in the eyes of her clique, a sort of wannabe superhero. They didn't really buy that she had any real abilities or skill. And as I say, when Ruby tried to show off and prove her powers to her clique, she just ended up knocking drinks over them and kind of making a fool of herself on a couple of occasions. So, they kind of alienated themselves from Ruby, and now what's going on with Summer is Summer in Summer's head is stepping up and doing the right thing and trying to help because she contributed to Ruby being in the situation she's in, and all the clicks see is, well, this is just Summer trying to cash in on the whole Geek-Girl thing, because that's the way they think, because they want to be part of the Geek-Girl thing because it's popular. But Summer's motivations are pure, but again, that's not how they perceive her, Karen and the rest of the crew. So they've kind of ostracized her like they had previously ostracized Ruby.
Oh wow! And I could get a real world feeling of the cool girls table and the cheerleader vibe from that, and I think it's very true. Have you found that people like the dynamic of the honesty of that kind of having to throw away basically your friends to do the right thing? Has that been something that has been a popular thing with fans?
Yeah, yeah, it has, and it's like who Ruby ended up at the end of the first arc versus who she was at the start. She'd really grown, and yeah, I mean the high concept of Geek-Girl is superheroes meets mean girls, so that's an integral part of it, and I think gives it a real emotional sort of base that it wouldn't have if it was just this girl gets powers and goes and fights crime. And it provides conflict working on while Ruby, as has been commented on reviews of all of it, really, that primarily Ruby, she's got this put in this position where, because Neon Girl gets taken down by Lightning Storm, and she kind of promises Neon Girl to step up and stop Lightning Storm, so she's dealing with that at the same time as she's a 21-year-old girl at college, and at the same time she's kind of this gaping chasm has opened up in her social life where she's used to being quote unquote Little Miss Popular. So it's kind of an emotional ringer she's put through as well as the physical one.
Oh man, as someone who's been reading it, it almost feels heartbreaking at times because you,
Yeah, I mean I've got stuff coming up that hopefully will really in sort of upbeat and downbeat ways will hopefully really make an impact on that in that area.
now one of the interesting things that you allude to is the fact that there is a bigger world outside of Maine. Is there ever going to be some sort of I guess, like event like you would see in a DC or Marvel universe where suddenly Geek Girl is tapped to be part of? Could that be something that we see in the future?
It could be, but at the moment, I've got sort of, despite what I've said about sort of changing directions and keeping it unpredictable, I do have a this is where I want to go thing in mind. And like in terms of any kind of crossovers with my other characters, it's what I'm going to be doing. It actually is my character Carbracini, Voodoo Junkie Hitwoman. I wanted to do crossovers, not for crossovers' sake, and I had this idea for her in something else, and I've decided to bring her because the Carver has appeared in IFX Halloween anthology. Carver is an ex-crackor turned supernatural gun for hire. And we've got most of them, very much, almost all of the miniseries for her done, but I've decided to shelve it and introduce her into the Geek-Girl universe first, because I think we're going to have an interesting thing going on there. And again, it's in one way, it's like I've got, this is where I want to go, but in another way, it's unpredictable because I've never written Geek-Girl and Carboncini together, and I don't know what they're very different characters. One is, very dark and hard-edged and crazy, and Ruby or Summer are Ruby and Summer. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But there's certainly a plot I've got in mind there.
Oh, and that's so awesome. I love the fact that you're thinking out of the box and really giving original take on the superhero trope. The passing of the glasses was kind of cool. I love the interaction between the two characters. Eventually down the road, do you see there being a geek guy possibly? Has that been anything anyone's ever asked you? Could there be a geek guy?
Well, the thing with the glasses, I mean, how these glasses work, they were invented by Ruby and Summer's resident college brainiac, Trevor Goldstein. He originally invented these to give himself superpowers, to try and impress, ironically, Mariella, the girl that Ruby has made friends with. And there's a chip in them that feeds into the brain that gives that instills the powers, but also it's kind of messing with their head a bit in ways that the user is not necessarily aware of. And for those that have read the first series, if you keep that idea in mind, you'll notice Summer's kind of acting a little differently when she's Geek Girl. But yes, the thing of the glasses is, as has already happened, is, they can come off. They can come off in battle. How Ruby got taken down by Lightning Storm was in their battle. They came off, and then she was vulnerable, and Lightning Storm electrocuted her. So, hypothetically, anyone that gets hold of these glasses can do something with them. So, who knows where else they may go.
All right. And I think that's a perfect way to lead off with talking about where they can get Geek Girl Volume 2. I know it's going to be available on Comixology, but is there any other place? Where should they get it? Let's tell the people how they can get part of this series right now.
Yeah, if you go to geekgirlcomics.com, safe. If you sign up to the mailing list, you'll get the free digital comic, Geek Girl Whatever Happened to Ruby K, which recaps the first mini, sets up the second mini, and there's a shop on there where you can get the first volume. You can get one. You'll be able to get two from tomorrow. Comixology. All issues available there. So yeah, you can get it. Oh, Indie Planet as well. Yeah, all the previous issues are available on Indie Planet.
Now, are you going to be coming to the, I didn't ask you this last time we talked, are there any plans for you to come to the States and be part of a Comic-Con anytime soon in America? And what's your travel schedule like over across the pond?
I certainly want to, but as we mentioned with like the Kickstarter model, doing this without Kickstarter, it's not cheap getting these things produced. So at the moment, that's kind of where all my money is. So the hope is yes, to do that in the future. But at the moment, it's kind of limited to UK because yeah, it's like yeah, they're not cheap to get done, these things.
Oh, just being a guy who travels the United States, I can assure you that I understand. It's not cheap travel across the pond at all. But
No.
I hope to see you come over one day. I'd love to.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, hopefully, if we get to the point where we've got an ongoing series, then there's that kind of it's bigger and it's yeah, and then hopefully there's enough of an audience that it warrants me, investing in doing that because I'd certainly like to do it.
Now, speaking of traveling, will Geek Girl ever make it across the pond?
Well, in terms of where things are going with that, um, there's no intentions for her to make it across the pond. There is another location in mind, but I really can't say anything about that. So primarily, it's we're building this world, or we built this world in Maine, which I want to explore, and we're not done with the other characters that have showed up. In the first series, such as Nina Dante, who's kind of this she's got like a cybernetic eye. She's kind of like gone one step for her and her old friends. They've got all the piercings and the tats and all that. But Dante's gone one step further with it, this glowing red eye, and she's kind of got the hots for Ruby and got into a fight with her, which has ended up on YouTube. And she's like, she's got her own website and she gets like, pay-per-view and all that kind of thing, so she's quite interested in having a rematch should the opportunity arise. So there's that, and there's other characters, certainly at least one character from the first miniseries that is kind of that I can't say any more about, but I want to, and Pitbull as well, like we get to see in the first issue of the new series. Pitbull, the jock superhero, he kind of takes someone under his wing. We get to see a different side to him. So, right now, who knows? Maybe she'll end up in space. Who knows? Different dimensions. But right now, I'm really interested in exploring the world she's in, and what's kind of going on in that world that makes it vital is the threats that are coming into it because of the hole in the crime fighting forces that have been caused by lightning storm. So it kind of makes it this hotspot for weird and wonderful characters like Pighead and Terry and Chromex. And right now that's what we're exploring.
Now, with these characters being so genuine and feeling like they're so real, have you based the characters themselves on real human beings? Is this something that has come to you based on people you've known? Like, how did you create these amazing characters?
Thankfully, the Mean Girls aren't based on people I know. My friend Chris was the inspiration for Summer's look when I was trying to work out the look for her. I kind of I met Chris sort of on MySpace, and she had the look I wanted for her. So she's not the character herself is not based on Chris, but it turns out the morality that Summer has is very much akin to how Chris rolls. So it's not. No, they're not consciously, literally based on real people. And Ruby is, yeah, it's not. There's no real thing. I mean, how I came up with Ruby, as I may have cited before, was it was just Image Shadowline Studios running this Who Wants to Create a Superheroine contest, and I came up with 3 different ideas. And what I came up with for Geek-Girl was kind of the prototype, and then I've fleshed it out into what it is now. So yeah, they're not. I mean, the only thing I can say in terms of drawing on real life is like, my best friend's a female. I have strong relationships with girls. So, but I definitely don't consciously base them on anyone. And that's part of what I enjoy about the comics and the escapism of it. It's like people in my day job, which tends to be a call center, people have said, why don't you do a comic about us? And that's not what I want to do. I want to go into, these fantastical worlds with these original characters.
and they're definitely very original. I gotta give you that credit. Uh, it's hard to do superheroes in a new way, but this is definitely a new way. So I take my hat off to you. I know you're a busy guy, so I'm going to let you get back to promoting this amazing tale that comes out tomorrow on all platforms that were mentioned today. But you could always get it at geekgirl.com, right? All the information.
Geekgirlcomics.com. That'll, you know, even if you're getting it at Comixology or anywhere else, that'll link you. Oh, and the first collection, which it links to as well. The first collection, Geek Girl Lightning Strikes, is you can get on Amazon, so that's still available.
Oh, that's very, very cool. Well, it's always a pleasure sitting down talking to you. I want you back when we're talking about issue 3 in the fall, because I know issue 3 is going to come out in the fall. Maybe we could talk about all the cool things that happened in issue 2.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure there's some stuff we can touch on that are in 3 because it's quite a emotional issue. I'm looking forward to that one coming out. Carlos Granda, the artist, is working on it at the moment. It's having a little break to get something else done for San Diego Comic Con, and then we're picking that right back up. So that comes out, I think it's September 24, and yeah, there's some cool stuff coming in that.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to this amazing video cast with creator Sam Johnson, who you can follow on Facebook, Twitter, as we've shown you. And are you on Instagram?
I'm technically on Instagram, however, not currently owning a phone. I don't post anything on it. And that's again due to all my money after I broke my phone by smashing it into a wall that had a litre bottle of vodka in. I haven't replaced it yet because basically any spare money I have is going on getting Geek Girl done. So yes, there is an Instagram, but which I will utilize in the future. But yeah, so I mean, you can always follow it because once there's stuff on there, that'll start kicking in.
Well, that's awesome, and thank you for being on the show. Check out Sam Johnson and Geek Girl Volume 2, Issue 2 tomorrow. You can check it out at www.geekgirlscomics.com.
Geekgirlcomics.com, Rob.
Girlcomics.com. There. Hang out for a minute, Sam, so I could say goodbye, and I'm going to say goodbye to the audience on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for tuning into this edition of Creator Talk, brought to you by IndieAdvocates.com. And